Hi, I'm Jen, and oh my God.
Sebastian Stan.
Quick reminder here at the top that this is an inclusive space where Black Lives Matter and we are anti-Asian hate. That means you are safe here in the video with me and in the comments below, where no hate speech of any kind will be tolerated. Please let us know if we can do anything to make our content more inclusive or accessible. Comment below, or you can send me an email. Okay, so Falcon and the Winter Soldier is fully out in the world, and surprise, everyone is very into Sebastian Stan again, as they should be. And as someone who has been really into Sebastian Stan for, oh my God, a decade now, I am here to let you know that if you're new to this world, welcome. I have so much information for you, and I am incredibly qualified to help you on the path to having more sea bass in your life. I know it's not just me, but when I get very into an actor or an actress, I go ahead and just watch every single thing that I can find of theirs, which means that I have seen many movies and television shows just for a mere glimpse at people like David Tennant or Haley Atwell. This movie is really, really, really gay. Or Rupert Grint. This movie's called Thunderpants, and it's super cute. Also, if you have watched even one episode of Law & Order, you know that every Broadway star has been in an episode or two or 198. And that is relevant because Sebastian Stan was also on Law & Order, albeit in 1990 when he still had his baby fat. Look at him. That was his first on-screen role. The first thing that I saw him in was Captain America: The First Avenger, where he's charming and adorable and loyal and absolutely bisexual, if not on purpose. But I didn't latch on until he appeared as Jefferson in Once Upon a Time in 2012. But you are probably here because of the Sam and Bucky show. So I will kick off this list with every Marvel movie in which James Buchanan Barnes appears. Obviously, we've got his character debut in Captain America: The First Avenger, where, spoiler alert, he only kinda dies, and then returns as the mysterious Winter Soldier. The second Cap movie is appropriately titled Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and it's arguably, not really arguably, one of the best Marvel movies to date. It tied in super nicely with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when Marvel was still acknowledging that that television show existed and was part of the MCU. And the movie overall was amazingly written, acted, directed. It was great. It's still great. It has a ton of rewatch value. The character of the Winter Soldier wears a mask that covers most of his face, and he almost never speaks. So Sebastian had to turn in a multi-layered and complex performance using only his eyes. He super nailed it. And that's when a lot of people started realizing that he was a heavy lifter as far as acting is concerned. This is also the first movie where we see Anthony Mackie as the Falcon, but he's not who today's video is about. The press tour for Winter Soldier, however, is where Sebastian and Anthony became really good friends. They started to gel as castmates and as human beings, and then they became, inseparable. There is very little footage of the two of them out of their costumes, with straight faces and taking anything seriously. They have derailed many an interview and a live appearance with their absolute nonsense. Bucky shows up again in the end credits to Ant-Man, and then in Captain America: Civil War, we see his dynamic with Sam, let's say Blossom. He has ditched the mask, but he's still on the run for the first half of the movie, and he's still doing a lot of acting without dialogue. Later in the movie, he gets some of his First Avenger-era charm back, but there's still a lot of brooding and pouting going on, and some deep psychological unpacking, especially for the middle of an epic superhero film. By the end of Civil War, Bucky decides it's time to take a break on his own terms. So he goes into temporary retirement in Wakanda, and yes, he does appear in the end credits of Black Panther with a lovely little man bun. But if you haven't seen Black Panther yet, you should definitely go watch that movie for way more than just the Sebastian cameo at the end. Bucky returns in the massive two-part finale to the original Avengers storyline in the MCU, Infinity War and Endgame. These two movies explain most of the backstory to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so I'm not going to put any spoilers in here, but once again, Sebastian absolutely knocks his role out of the park. Before Sebastian ever suited up as a potential Avenger, he was a minor character in the R-rated comedy Hot Tub Time Machine. The main characters in this movie travel back in time to the 1980s, and they meet Blaine, a guy who is super anti-Russia.
I'm a patriot.
There were already tons of memes drawing comparisons between Blaine and Bucky, the guy being brainwashed by the Russian Hydra base. And then Rhodey mentioned Hot Tub Time Machine in his list of time travel movies during the events of Endgame. So, if Hot Tub Time Machine exists in the MCU, how many of these other movies and television shows exist too? And will Bucky ever have to meet Sebastian Stan? For legal purposes, this is a joke. So, maybe it was the eyeliner. Maybe it was the cry acting, which frankly has only gotten better in the last 10 years. But whatever it was, this is the guy I fell in love with.
This is your man.
Yes,
Look at the screen.
that's mine. I'm gonna stick beside him.
Sebastian plays Jefferson on ABC's Once Upon a Time, which was a television show that adapted a ton of Disney movies and other fairy tales and just mashed them all together in a way that initially made sense and then slowly didn't. Jefferson is a very loose adaptation of the Mad Hatter character from Alice in Wonderland. And whoo boy, did they dig themselves a hole when they introduced him. Jefferson was way too powerful of a character for the world of Storybrooke, or frankly for the fantasy world that he also existed in. It makes sense that they banished him to the spin-off show after only 7 episodes, because otherwise he could have solved so many problems with his magical portal hats. But what really matters here is that this is Sebastian's only other Disney project so far, and he seriously proved his worth in case it needed proving before he had a shot at a whole bunch of Marvel movies. Jefferson is not only a father, he is a potential romantic love interest for the main character on the show. He exists in the Storybrooke of the real world and in the fantasy world, and he plays both good and evil, which changes depending on who's talking to him. Whether this was already a really great role on the page or Sebastian beefed it up with his outstanding acting, you should absolutely check out his run on this show if you don't get sucked in and end up watching 7 whole seasons of it. Jefferson was a lot, but mostly he was a surprising amount of sad, which leads me into my second category of stuff with Sebastian that you should watch. The sad boy list. Please ignore the blanket. It has gotten very cold down here. Sebastian has turned in so many great crying scenes over the years. Beginning with The Covenant in 2006, he played teen witch Chase Collins and absolutely tried to make that role gayer than it was supposed to be. This movie is so perfectly early 2000s. A lot of people talk shit about it, but honestly, it's a lot of fun. And Sebastian does the absolute most with a pretty thin on the page role. He is still reportedly friends with co-stars Taylor Kitsch and Chase Crawford, and he also has a shirtless scene in a locker room. While the movie isn't explicitly gay, or even remotely supposed to be gay, it's often read as homoerotic, and there are plenty of people who argue that that is not a mistake. Writer Megan Cox penned a bunch of articles about Sebastian, and specifically about his character Chase, over on the blog That's Normal. In fact, big shout out to Megan and her entire body of work, which helped me along with this portion of the video immensely. After The Covenant, Seb returned to television for 2 roles that get mashed up a lot for good reason. In both, he plays the son of a powerful politician, a gay man, and in general, he's just not having a good time. In Kings, he plays Jack Benjamin, and has a truly phenomenal scene with the outstanding Ian McShane, who plays his father. The show is a political drama / biblical allegory mixed in with an indictment on the military-industrial complex, so it's kind of hard to get through, but it's good. In Political Animals, he plays TJ Hammond, a much sadder sad boy who actually might be bisexual. He shares scenes with both Sigourney Weaver and Ellen Burstyn, who play his mom and grandma, respectively. And actually, that whole cast is really, really good. So, watch Political Animals. Political Animals has far better rewatch value, in my opinion, though Sebastian turns in great performances in both shows. The final sad boy recommendation I have is I'm Dying Up Here, where he is a stand-up comedian, not wearing a wig, in a 1970s period piece. He's only in the pilot episode, and believe it or not, that is not his briefest appearance. I really enjoyed Rachel Getting Married, which is a character piece starring Anne Hathaway in one of her edgier roles than her typical on-screen persona. Sebastian shows up twice in this movie. I don't know how it happened, but he actually plays two completely different characters. At one point, he has a speaking role in a small group therapy setting, and then he is also a wildly dancing extra at the wedding at the end of the film. This movie is from 2008, so I guess it's reasonable to expect that no one would notice. But I mean, look at him. How would you not notice that? That's ridiculous. Sidebar. God bless whoever grabbed every last drop of this performance and then uploaded every single screen grab that they had to FanPop, so that when you search for him in this movie, this is what you get. In 2015, Sebastian was in Ricky and the Flash, another movie about a strong woman and an angsty emotional showdown at a wedding. Again, he plays a relatively minor role. In this film, he's Meryl Streep's son, and she's the main character. He is getting married and inviting his estranged mother to the festivities. This is the second time that a bunch of his baby/childhood photos appear on screen, as production used his actual throwback pics, both in Political Animals and Ricky and the Flash. Also in 2015, he played a minor role in The Martian. This was a really big deal for him because apparently if Sebastian hadn't become an actor, he would have become an astronaut. And he's still really into space. In The Martian, he plays Chris Beck, the medic on the team that eventually abandons Matt Damon to experiment with an all-potato diet on Mars. While this is the meatiest of his eensy-weensy roles, it's still hella minor, and I think there might actually be more footage of him absolutely losing his mind when he got to tour NASA than there is in the final cut of the film. Regardless of that, it is a really good movie, and I highly recommend both it and the book on which it's based. When Winter Soldier came out, there was a lot of talk of calling Bucky the bad guy, or the villain. And quite frankly, Sebastian was having none of that. He seems to take a very much Wreck-It Ralph approach to the character, in celebrating all of his shades of grey, while continuing to remember his loyalty to Steve, sort of, when he's not trying to kill him. Since then, though, he has turned in a few categorically bad guy roles. Again, in 2015, he was in a weird little movie called The Bronze. Here he plays Lance Tucker, super evil dude for a lot of reasons, opposite Melissa Rauch's Hope Ann Gregory, who is a plucky antihero at best. The movie is filled with questionably moraled characters, but Lance is unquestionably the worst. I mean, he's got a lot of weird and bad shit going on, but he also has a tattoo that makes his baguette into a gold medal. Maybe it's supposed to be his dinner rolls? I'm not entirely sure. The tattoo is revealed right before a super flexible and very graphic sex scene, but what's really impressive is how well he plays this slimy dude opposite an already pretty unlikable protagonist. This was also around the time that Sebastian became super active on Instagram, but even his series of videos dancing around his dressing room in costume couldn't really endear Lance to anyone. But 2015 was a good year to be a Sebastian Stan fan. 2 years later, Sebastian was back in the world of freaky, dark sports movies, where he plays a horrible dude, and this time he added a super offensive mustache and dad jeans that did nothing for him. Neither he nor Chris Evans can pull off this look. In 2017's kind of biopic, I, Tonya, he plays Jeff Gillooly, opposite Margot Robbie's Tonya Harding. The movie is a dramatic adaptation of real events, and Jeff, Tonya's now ex-husband, is bad news almost from his first appearance. The mustache is not the only bad thing about him. Then in 2018, Sebastian showed up in a horror film. Only his second to date, I believe. We Have Always Lived in the Castle is based on Shirley Jackson's novel of the same name. For those of you unfamiliar, Shirley Jackson also wrote the novel on which The Haunting of Hill House is based, and is famous for her psychological gothic horror from mid-20th century. In the movie adaptation of Castle, Sebastian plays a mysterious cousin to the main family. He slowly worms his way into their already broken dynamic, and without giving too much away, he does a lot of bad stuff. All right, my final section in this massive presentation is movies I will never watch again, not even for Sebastian. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, there is a lot of stuff that I've watched for the most minor glimpses at one of my faves. And some of this stuff I spend a lot of effort tracking down, and then it disappoints me or gives me nightmares. Unfortunately, Sebastian's list is no different. In 2007, Sebastian was in a movie called The Education of Charlie Banks. I don't remember anything about it except that I have seen it. Sebastian wears a white tuxedo at one point. He plays a character named Leo. I don't remember if he's gay or straight. I mean, he does have really good costumes in this movie. And it's a look at his acting only 2 years after he graduated from Rutgers. So there's that. Jesse Eisenberg is in it. That's all I got. In 2010, Sebastian was basically an extra in the movie Black Swan, which was critically acclaimed. I did not know who Sebastian was when I went to see this film. I went to see it because I like ballet and I like Natalie Portman and I typically like horror movies. I didn't like this one. I watched a lot of it from behind my hands. I mean, I remember the scene that Sebastian's in, but I don't really remember it. Lots of body horror, which I'm not into. And finally, the cheesy horror flick that I was probably most looking forward to on his log of movies, and then least enchanted by, which was 2012's The Apparition. In this movie, Sebastian has really unfortunate hair, not even cute for 2012. He stars in this movie alongside Ashley Greene. The only other main actor is Tom Felton. So, recipe for success, right? No. It's a classic poltergeist movie, if I recall correctly, and there's like some weirdly predictable twists and turns. I don't know that I'd call it bad, but I certainly wouldn't call it good or watch it again. So skip The Apparition, or don't. I mean, it's up to you. Okay. Sebastian Stan, rather famously, was also on Gossip Girl. I have no affinity for Gossip Girl. I don't have anything against it, but I've never gotten into it. I tried it out for the sake of Sebastian, as I have tried out so many other things, and I was underwhelmed. But I had a editorial note sent to me by my sister who loves Gossip Girl, and I'm going to share that with you while we play a little montage of images of Sebastian Stan from his Gossip Girl days. Why Sebastian Stan in Gossip Girl is Amazing by Caitlin. Jen has seen one episode of Gossip Girl with Sebastian Stan and said she did not see a vampire in that episode, so she was not interested. This is indeed false, because the vampire is in that episode of The Lost Weekend and very much does not want Carter Bazin to attend said Lost Weekend. However, we get Sebastian in this beautiful costume. In this episode, we also see him in an atrocious baggy t-shirt with a messenger bag, playing basketball with the boys. Note, this is what Chuck and Nate are wearing in that scene. Later, we get an amazing glow-up from Carter when he returns, including his time with a stolen horse. In conclusion, Sebastian Stan was not used properly in this TV show. He is amazing. Thank you to my sister Caitlin for that editorial note on the costuming department at Gossip Girl, but I guess I don't care if you watch him on Gossip Girl or not. So there you have it, the movies and television featuring Sebastian Stan that I recommend and don't recommend. This is not a complete list of his filmography. He's a busy dude. I also did not touch on his live performances. I don't think his two major plays were ever professionally recorded. He was in Picnic for a while. There are a lot of pictures of that on the internet. And he was also in Talk Radio, of which there are a lot of pictures on the internet. If you know where I can find a slime tutorial relating to either of those productions, please hook me up. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're still here, please leave a like and a comment down below because this took me a lot of time and effort to put together. You can actually find complete content warnings for all of these movies and television shows at commonsensemedia.org. We'll leave a link in the description below. If you haven't already, go ahead and click that subscribe button and then make sure that you ring the bell so that you know every time there's a new video uploaded to our channel. If you want to get in touch with me outside of YouTube, you can find all of my social media and my email address linked in the description below. And if you have an actor that you've watched most of their filmography just for glimpses of them in random shit, please let me know in the comments down below. Or if you have a favorite random Sebastian Stan performance, also definitely let me know that in the comments below. Thank you guys once again for tuning in. And as always, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye!
Are you always this articulate?
Hercules, my